Yat Epene, She Yet Jim Harrison the Shajane, Shipra New Mexico, da is Nasha. Kilachin is not touching a Bash's chain. Good morning, my name is Jimmy Harrison. I'm originally from the Shipwreck area, from the Four Corners there. I'm from the Red House clan on my mother's side, and also Red Run Into Water on my father's side. I'm doing a little project on behalf of Navajo Friends Association regarding organic farming, climate change, and COVID-19. And we'll be visiting with a couple of people, the first being Gary Clark from Shiprock, who does his farming along the river. And we're going to go south to Joseph City, and we'll be visiting with Albert Chase. So hopefully everything goes well, and we'll be talking to you very shortly. How going at for now? Good morning. We're down here west side of Shiprock in the farm area along the river. Today we'll be talking to Gary Clark, who's been a farmer for pretty much all his life. And we'll go through a lot of questions as to how he does his farming, how it's being affected by COVID. And we'll talk a little bit about his irrigation and climate change. So we'll start off by letting him introduce himself. Good morning, Gary.
Oh, yeah, they.
Tell us a little about yourself and then what your occupation is, and we'll start from there.
Yeah, they've been. She Gary Clark, that's a junior. What it's eating, strong, she was a chain. Here on it, that's a chain. The Lagana Dene, that's a null. My name is Gary Clark, Navajo. I'm born to the Bitterwater clan. The Towering House clan are my maternal grandparents, and the Anglo people are my paternal grandparents. And that's how I've been identified by my parents.
Besides farming, what do you do now for your occupation?
I've been retired going on 12 years. I worked out at the coal mines for 37 years and retired, and right now pretty much farming, and I drive the school bus now and then just for something to do because during the winter months there's really nothing to do on the farm. So in the summertime we're busy. We got the farm, and then we got the horses and animals to take care of. So that's what I'm doing right now.
And tell us a little about your farming. How long have you been farming, and is this a generational thing within your family?
Well, I started farming when I was a little kid with my mom. Our parents would make us go out in the field in the summertime to hoe early in the morning and quit about noon, and we plant all the vegetables and corn, melon, squash, cantaloupe, chili, tomatoes, and vegetables like that. And as I grew up and later in age, I started doing it myself. And right now we got alfalfa. We grow alfalfa for the animals, and then also sell that. And then we put in a vegetable garden. Same thing: watermelon, corn, sweet corn, tomatoes, and chili, and whatever we harvest, we put away for the winter and share with our relatives. And then whatever's left over, we turn around and sell it to the public in the fall. So it's like we take care of the land, and the land provides for us, is how I see it.
What is your main crop here? What is the most popular crop you plant here?
Corn is pretty much the main crop. We got sweet corn. Seeds that we get from Colorado, and we put that in the ground, and we do 3 different plantings, 3 different times through the spring, so that the harvest doesn't all come at one time, and it'll put a lot of work on us to try to take care of the whole harvest at one time. So we stage it where we got the corn and the watermelons and things like that coming in at different times, so we'll be able to take care of it.
Besides you, who else is involved with your farming? Your kids, your grandkids?
I've got my family, my kids, my grandsons. They play a big part in this. They help me prepare the land, plowing, things of that sort. And I've been teaching them these last few years on how to do what I do and why I do it. And now they're at the stage now where they're doing it on their own, and they come down here and start preparing the land themselves for planting. And I always tell them that the way I do it might not be the right way to do it, and I tell them just to think it through, and you might have better ideas a way of doing it. So my parents, my grandparents did it a certain way, and sometimes that might not be the best way. There's always easier. And now with modern technology the way it is, and one person can farm 20 acres by themselves, just the way they prepare the land and all the machinery that they have to do it with.
On maintaining your farm, do you do it on a weekly basis or bi-weekly, monthly?
Every day,
Every day?
every day,
Mhm.
every day. We do it every day. It starts in early February. In early February, the alfalfa behind us here, we prepare that. We got the animals that are on the alfalfa field throughout the whole winter. So they eat what's left of the alfalfa, and they in turn they fertilize the alfalfa for us with the manure. And so it starts in February, and then the last snow that comes through the latter part of February, that dissolves the fertilizer into the soil. So when the water comes in early April, we're already ahead of it. We're already ahead of it, and the growth is already starting. So that's what we do in April, and then in May, towards the end of May, when the temperature is around 60 at night, and then that's when we start planting the vegetables.
And you use these animals like what time during the year?
In the winter time is when they're out in the field, and I call it the pasture. They're out to pasture.
Mm-hmm.
They spend the whole winter out here, so we only feed the alfalfa like the last part of February and March, and then our first cut of alfalfa is in the last part of May.
How big of an area do you have here as far as acreage?
Farmland, we got 15 acres total. About 4 acres of alfalfa, and the rest is all going to be vegetable. And we're planning on putting a new crop of alfalfa up here in the north field, which is about 3 acres. So it'll be easier to maintain. And then because the alfalfa over here we have is in the 4th year and is starting to get patchy. There's not as much alfalfa, pretty much mostly grass. And that's what we plant is alfalfa and grass together because it's better for the horses and the sheep and the goats. In the soil, I try to get it analyzed like every 2 years or so. And we just take samples from different areas of the farm, and we take it up to Nappy over by NAPI, that big alfalfa farm that the tribe runs up there. And we might plant alfalfa for 2 or 3 years, and then we rotate it back into corn because corn grows good with the. And so I had to try to schedule my planting, my vegetable crop by that. And so I would hurry up and irrigate while they were at work during the day or at night when they were all asleep. And I had problems with trash in the ditches, the tumbleweeds that blow in there. They all come down the ditch with the water and wind up at the end of the pipe, and I had to clean it all out. And sometimes there's animals, there's prairie dogs.
What about farming equipment and machinery? How does that work with the community here? Is that provided by the officials, or do you have your own equipment that you use for farming?
I think most of the farms right now, the farmers are pretty much, they have to have a full-time job. And most of the farms right now, they don't have the implements or the tractors to be able to farm. So through our local chapter house, we have another association called the Farm Board, and it consists of farmers throughout the whole valley from Farmington down to Gutty Eye, and they have representatives on the board for each community, Hogback, Shiprock, Gutty Eye, and through them, they're the ones that get the funding from the state or from the Navajo Nation.
How much knowledge do you have about climate change compared today to the last few years and maybe 20 years back?
I think climate change is a big thing. I remember as I was growing up, when I was in elementary, we had winters where the snow was 3 feet deep for 2 or 3 months through the winter. And in the springtime, it'd start raining in January and it'd rain all the way till June. So we had a lot of moisture on the ground, and now we don't have that anymore. We're pretty much a dry. We're in drought for, I don't know, the last 15 or 20 years right now, and I think we're in the severe drought right now. A lot of the people are getting out of the livestock business. They're selling out their cattle because there's no feed out there for them. Their sheep also. I think it's better for me now because of the underground irrigation system. But it all depends on the water that comes off the mountains north of us in Colorado, because all that snow melts, comes down the river, and from the river is our irrigation system. So if it snows good during the winter up in the mountains, then we get a lot of water here. But here in the last few years, a lot of the lakes and the dams that they have built along the river are starting to reduce, and I'm sure that pretty soon they're going to start telling us that we have to schedule our irrigate and not irrigate all the time like we're getting used to now.
Are you allotted so much water each year depending on the rainfall?
No, not right now. Not right now. But I see that coming in the future if the weather stays the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
The rain comes, but the rain comes over on the north of us and south of us, and we don't hardly get any rain here. You watch the weather forecast in the morning, and it's going to start raining at 9 or 10 o'clock, and you look outside at 9 or 10 o'clock, it's just dark skies, and it's raining up north, but it's not raining here where we're at. So it's a big change back in years past.
Now, some of the farmers here, have you heard from them as to how they're being affected by climate change?
No, but I know that talking to the farmers here in the last year, they are happy with the underground irrigation system. They are happy that they can have water whenever they want. So
it's been very convenient.
I see a lot more farms being utilized right now. I see farmers out there that already plowed and already made the corrugation. They're waiting for the warm nights where they can start putting seeds in the ground.
Let's talk a little bit about the pandemic, the COVID. How has it affected your farming, and how has it affected the community, the farmers?
I think it's a big thing, big deal, because in the past we would do our crops, and then in the fall we would take it down to the local farmers market and sell our crops there, or we would sell our corn to somebody that makes steam corn, or somebody that makes meal down bread, and they would buy it. Now it's really hindered our farming this year and last year also. So I think that it might be coming back now that they're starting to open it up across the state and across the Navajo Nation, where we'd be able to go to these farmers market and be able to see people face to face and be able to sell our crops.
Okay, very good. Now, how do you get the younger generation involved with farming? What sort of incentives do you have for them? Would it take community involvement with officials?
I think it starts all the way from the grandmas and the grandpas. They have to get their children involved, and it's a learning process. They got to grow along with their parents and their grandparents on doing things where they learn how to plant, and they're out there hoeing the weeds, the plants that they put in the seeds that they put in the ground. They see that, and then in the fall, they see the harvest that comes from these plants that they put in the ground themselves. And with irrigation and constant hoeing, and in the fall, they turn around and sell it to the public. They see an income from it to help them a little bit here and there. My grandsons called me from Winterville down south and wanted to know if they could spend the summer with me, and I told them yeah. So they came up and spent one summer with me. In the meantime, they were helping me with the farm. And in the fall, when we harvest the corn, I told them, let's make some steamed corn and you can go sell it. And they didn't know anything about making steamed corn, so I showed them how to make steamed corn. And they turned around and they were kind of bashful. They didn't know how to be out in the public and sell it. And I told them, just sell it, put a sign up, the people will come. And that's what they did. And they sold all the steamed corn, and the next thing you know, they wanted to know when they could do another steamed corn burn, because they saw that there was money in it. But they also saw the hard work that they had to put forth in the beginning to be able to get that out.
We were at a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and you brought up a very, very interesting point to where the schools here, the district, we're talking about public schools. You mentioned that a lot of the products you harvest here should be going to the schools so the kids can eat healthier. What's your take on that?
Well, I think that the schools have to have fresh vegetables year round, and especially during the winter. And to be able to do that, you got to have we call them hoop houses, or some place where you can be able to harvest corn in the middle of November or middle of December. Some place where you can have a constant temperature of 70 degrees, where you'll be able to produce it. And my thought was that with the underground piping now and the availability of water, we should be able to start looking at that, to be able to provide fresh produce to the hospitals, to the schools, all the schools. There's a lot of schools here in the districts that outside down south where they need fresh vegetable for the kids, and we provide that for the schools. So it's like farm to table thing, where we provide to the school, and it provides income for the farmers. So the farmers in turn can go buy seeds and buy better equipment to be able to farm, and then also provide jobs to the younger people to see that there's money to be made in the farming business, and pretty soon it'd be a big industry here on the reservation.
You told us a couple of weeks ago also about your planting with fish. Can you tell us the story on that?
Oh, I say that when I was a kid, the San Juan River got so low that it wasn't running. It was just puddles, ponds all the way up and down the valley. And my brother and I went down to the river, and we went fishing, and here we saw a big old pond that had a bunch of fish in it. And we said, let's go get the tub from the house. So we went back to the house, and we got the tub, we filled it up with fish, and we brought it back to the house to show Mom that, look, we got fish to eat. And she got mad at us. She said, I can't clean all those fish. Get them out of here. So we took those fish, and I told my brother, I said, hey, the Pilgrims, I read in the book where they used to take the fish and plant it with the seeds, and it was like fertilizer to the seeds. And so he says, let's try it. So we dug some holes and we put the fish down at the bottom. We put a little bit of dirt on it, put the seeds on it, and put water to it. And then we said, okay, let's see what grows now. And the next morning we went out there and all the holes were dug out. The dogs went out there during the night and dug up all the fish.
Very good. Well, thank you, Gary, for joining us. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You take care of yourself and much success to your farming.
Like I say, there's improvements that can be done, and I look forward. It's change.
Yes.
Change. Change is coming, and you got to be ready to accept it, or it's going to pass you by. So I'm glad that you guys are here. I'm glad you guys want to know how we do things, and in comparison to the rest of the world.
And this will be beneficial for a lot of the farmers here.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm happy to help any way I can to help the future, because I feel that this land does not belong to me. It belongs to the future. The future being my kids, my grandkids, my great grandkids, and they can just make it better, because this land was here before we came. And it's going to be here after we're gone. So you might as well improve it the best way you can, the best way you know, and then for the future. That's the way I see it. Thank you very much for having me.
Very good. Thanks for your time.
وجناستلي